You entered that place just once, sat in the back row, quiet, trying not to draw attention. You didn't go to prove anything, nor seek a miracle. You just went to feel the atmosphere, see if you still fit there. But something happened. Not in the walls, in the people. The air changed. Their gaze got heavy. It was as if the space itself had noticed you were no longer the same, that your energy no longer fit that mold. You carried a different light, a vibration the environment didn't know how to decipher, and that, without you wanting it, provoked a silent earthquake. Since that day, they started watching you, not with admiration, but with that contained curiosity, the look of someone trying to understand what changed. Why does this person seem so centered? Why do they seem more alive, more whole, more calm, and they're not even among us anymore? They're used to people arriving exhausted, asking for help, begging for healing, for direction. But you arrived whole, and when you left, you flourished even more. You learned to align with heaven within yourself. You didn't need an audience, nor repeated rituals. You just needed silence and presence. And this energetic autonomy causes discomfort. They didn't understand. You didn't leave out of rebellion. You just evolved. You discovered that connection with the high doesn't depend on a microphone, nor on an intercessor. That real power happens when the heart silences and the spirit awakens. You stopped begging and started thanking. You stopped feeling small and realized heaven already lived inside you. And those who live dependent on applause don't understand the serene glow of someone who found balance. It's not fear they feel, it's bewilderment, because your existence contradicts what they always taught, that only inside there was an answer. But you're out there, free, whole, vibrating in peace. And this disrupts the script. They preach dependence, but you learned spiritual self-sufficiency. They seek the miracle, and you became the sign itself. When you went back there the other day, maybe out of affection, maybe out of curiosity, the environment reacted again. They looked at you, but few spoke. It seemed they were trying to understand what they had lost. You didn't arrive seeking anything. You arrived full, with the calm gaze of someone who already reconnected. And in that moment, heaven whispered inside you. You didn't leave the light. You just left the place that was trying to hide it. Chosen ones, this message has answers you've always asked for. This subject few people have the courage to touch. But if it reached you, it's a divine sign that answers questions few dare to answer you. Before we continue, tell me something here in the comments. Honestly, has this happened to you? Entering a church and feeling the environment change, the air get heavy, the glances cross, as if your mere presence lit something they didn't know how to handle. Well, that's what this is about. These churches don't like your presence, not because you did something wrong, but because your light is too strong for them. You're different, always were. Your connection with heaven wasn't born inside any walls. It was born in the middle of silence, in the early mornings when you searched for answers and felt something calling you outside. What seemed like confusion was divine intuition. The spiritual world took you out of where your essence was being suffocated. Because your spirit is too sincere to fit into a system that repeats the sacred without feeling the sacred. You didn't leave out of rebellion, you left out of purity, because inside you lives a truth that can't bear falseness. And when heaven perceives this in a chosen one, it starts displacing everything around. People drift away, the environment gets heavy, the energy changes, until that silent moment comes when the soul understands, I don't belong here anymore. And that's exactly what this message will reveal to you today. The why of this sensation, the real meaning of this distancing. If you recognize yourself in this, leave your like now. It's not to engage the video, it's to seal your recognition. So the universe knows you understood the calling. Stay until the end, because what I'm going to tell you will prove to you it wasn't escape, it was ascension. And heaven took you out of there to place you where your light can shine whole. What will be said isn't to awaken anger, It's to show you what really happened. You became living proof that spiritual strength doesn't belong to institutions, that the sacred is mobile, free, and walks with those who vibrate in truth. Your presence is a beacon. People feel it even without understanding, even without saying anything. The air changes when you arrive, the energy adjusts, and this awakens those who still live by formulas, who still depend on spiritual crutches. But don't blame yourself for this. You didn't destroy anything, you just flourished, and a flower that's born in the open field makes flowers trapped in pots ask themselves, can I also grow without these walls? And they can. You're the reminder of this. So don't dim your light to fit in spaces that diminish your frequency. The spiritual world lifted you to inspire, not to please. Your light isn't a threat, it's an invitation to awaken, to grow, to remember. If your presence bothers, it's because it illuminates what was hidden. Today, heaven confirms to you, it's not rejection, it's recognition. They feel what you carry, and that's rare. Your light is too strong for them, but perfect for what's coming now. The entire universe knows who you are, and it's telling you in silence, continue, shine without guilt. The world needs your light. Chosen one. You remember that night? It had been a while since you'd set foot there. You entered quietly, like someone who doesn't want to bother, sat in one of the last rows, observing the environment with that gentle but firm gaze. The gaze of someone who no longer seeks what they sought before. The air seemed the same, but you felt different. And the curious thing is that people felt it too. The glances started discreet, almost disguised, but there was something in them, a mixture of curiosity and discomfort, as if saying, without words, there's something different about him. She changed, and they were right. The music started, that melody that once made you cry, that seemed to open portals inside you, now sounded distant, soulless. The sound was beautiful, but the vibration, cold, as if the enchantment had gotten lost along the way, and you understood. It wasn't the music that had changed, it was you. Your frequency no longer matched that environment. What before awakened you now seemed like an echo, and echo is the sound of something that already passed. When the moment of prayer began, you observed in silence. Many raised their hands, asking for blessings, healing, money, quick answers. Some shouted, others cried, as if the universe were deaf and needed to be shaken to hear. But you stayed quiet. You breathed deep, closed your eyes, and just thought, gratitude. The contrast was instant. A lady beside you looked at you with strangeness, then whispered, want us to pray for you, prosperity, strength, some cause. And you answered calmly, I only have to give thanks. Silence. She blinked, not knowing what to say. The answer echoed louder than any scream in that temple, because there, where everyone came to ask, someone dared to only give thanks. And that, my dear, was the most silent earthquake that place ever felt. The people nearby got restless. What do you mean, only give thanks? They thought. There, each face carried urgency, the lack, the waiting, the spiritual begging. But you were full, and fullness in an environment that lives off scarcity is almost an act of divine rebellion. Your energy didn't compete, didn't judge, it just existed, and genuine existence has mirror power. It shows what others pretend not to see. It was as if you had entered carrying the sun itself, while everyone there was used to artificial light. No one knew whether to admire you or protect themselves from the brightness, so they pretended normalcy. But that phrase, I only have to give thanks, kept reverberating in many people's heads after you left. That same night, when the last song ended, there were people who went home in silence, feeling a new discomfort. A man, in his car, murmured to his wife, he seemed so calm, and I, even coming every Sunday, still have this anguish. Another person thought quietly, can I also feel like this at peace without depending so much on here? And this doubt, simple, human, was the beginning of a collective awakening. In the following days, something subtle started happening. An empty seat here, another there, the voices still sang, but with less brightness. It was as if the structure had lost its pulse, because when truth touches the air, even those who pretend not to hear start feeling that something changed. The music no longer healed, the words sounded repeated. Enchantment gave way to a type of consciousness that no longer fits in a script. And you, chosen one, maybe didn't even realize the size of the impact. But the spiritual world saw. That night, while you just breathed in silence, it was as if a spark had lit in complete darkness. And this spark didn't destroy, it just revealed. It revealed that true light doesn't depend on a microphone, nor on an altar. It's born in the chest of someone who crossed the desert and learned to light their own fire. You didn't make noise, didn't argue, didn't try to prove anything. You were just you, and that was enough. Because when someone becomes whole in a place used to dealing with fragments, the whole becomes a mirror. And a mirror bothers those who still don't recognize themselves. But it also awakens those who were ready to remember who they are. You didn't destroy the church, chosen one. You just showed there's life beyond the walls. And from that night on, the world started understanding what these churches felt. Your presence is too strong to fit where the light still belongs to others. My dear ones, it wasn't always like this, right? There was a time when you sat in the same seats, were part of the same routines, repeated the same words. You were sincere, truly tried to feel what they said was faith, what they promised as the right path. But something started changing. A fine restlessness, almost imperceptible, started growing inside you. It wasn't anger nor doubt. It was a calling, a whisper coming from above saying softly, "This is no longer your place." And the more you sought answers there, the more silence grew inside. The external sound was no longer enough. The manufactured emotion no longer touched you. You started noticing that the beautiful words were becoming hollow, and that heaven that always guided you, even when you couldn't name it, could only be heard away from the noise. It was as if the universe were pushing you into a desert, but not to punish you, to reveal you. It took courage to leave, because leaving is never easy. You didn't leave fighting, nor slamming doors. You left in silence, with a tight heart, but with a certainty only the spirit recognizes. I need to go. I need to find myself. And so your crossing began. A path without a map, without a human guide, only with the compass of your own chest. You distanced yourself from the applause, from the rituals, from the promises that there's nothing out there. And when you were alone, you discovered that what they called outside was actually the inside. At first, the desert scares. The silence seems too big, the nights too long. But it was there, in the void, that you heard the true voice. The one that doesn't demand, doesn't charge, doesn't threaten. The one that just whispers, "I was always here." And this voice made you remember something essential. The temple was never the building. The temple is the body that breathes, the heart that feels, the spirit that seeks. It was in this sacred solitude that you found yourself. And you found yourself in a way no doctrine could teach you. Because only those who cross the desert understand the value of water. Only those who go through darkness understand the power of light. You discovered you could talk to heaven without needing a microphone, without scenery, without rehearsed ritual. That you could feel the spiritual world while washing dishes, driving, taking care of the house. You realized the divine presence wasn't at the altar, it was in you. And that's when something really started changing. Things started flowing, not by sudden miracle, but by internal alignment. What before was pushed now happened with lightness. Peace came back to live in your days. Intuition became clearer. Prosperity, emotional, spiritual, even material, started manifesting naturally. Because when the spirit is aligned, life responds. You didn't need a new label, a new group, a master to validate you. What validated you was the serenity of walking alone and still feeling company. It was the silence that taught you more than any preaching. It was solitude that showed you the difference between being alone and being complete. So, if you who are listening now also left a place that said it was the only way, know this: you didn't get lost. You found yourself. This decision the spiritual world breathed inside you was an act of wisdom, not error. You answered a calling few have the courage to follow, the calling of authenticity. And today, look at you. The peace in your gaze reveals you found what you were looking for without needing a stage. People look and ask, how is he doing so well? How does she prosper without being there? And you smile, because you know there's no formula. The secret is simple. You heard the voice that came from within and had the courage to obey. You crossed the desert and came out of it shining. You learned that silence is a temple, that the desert is a school, that solitude is also prayer. And now heaven, which guided you all along, observes you with pride, because what seemed like distancing was actually the beginning of your ascension. Chosen one, you may not even know it, but they've been watching you for a long time, not with applause, nor with hugs, but with that curious, somewhat suspicious look of those who want to understand and are afraid at the same time. People who said inside, let's see how far they go, let's see if it lasts. Some hoped you'd fall, others waited for your embarrassed return. And there were still a few, rare ones, who in silence wished it would work out. Because deep down, they knew you left out of sincerity, not out of rebellion. But time passed, and now they look and don't understand. Because you didn't get lost, you found yourself. They expected stumbling, and what came was ascension. They expected silence, and what came was peace. They thought you'd come back asking for help, and today they're the ones asking themselves how you did it. The brightness in your eyes became discomfort for those still walking in darkness. And not because you wanted to prove anything. It was natural. The spiritual world took care of showing that whoever follows their own calling, sooner or later, finds the right path. Today, the places that once held you are emptier. Little by little, the enchantment dissolved. The music still plays, but sounds repetitive. The words still echo, but seem hollow, because when someone awakens from a trance, they can no longer pretend to sleep, just because the lullaby continues beautiful. And you, unintentionally, were that awakening. You were the living reminder that there's spirituality without a leash, faith without structure, love without a manual. And no, it wasn't your voice that caused this. It was your vibration. When someone finds truth within themselves, the surroundings change. You became a lighthouse without planning, and a lighthouse doesn't convince anyone. It just shines without asking permission, without adjusting intensity to please. It just exists. And those who are in the dark sea, lost, see it and understand. There's direction there. That's why, chosen one, if someone looks at you sideways now, if they avoid you or call you lost, breathe. It's not personal. It's that your light reveals what was hidden, and what light reveals sometimes scares. You represent freedom in a system that survives on control. And people who live off others' dependence will always find dangerous those who learn to walk alone. But understand, you don't need to feel responsible for waking anyone up. Waking up is a choice. If someone seeks you with an open heart, share your journey. Show that the path outside the walls also leads upward. But don't push anyone. Don't judge. Each spirit has their time, and sometimes those still sleeping today will wake up remembering precisely you. Keep shining. That's your mission now. There's nothing you need to prove, no speech to make, no war to fight. Your life in peace is the greatest testimony. Your serenity is the sound that echoes louder than any preaching. Your coherence is the most sacred temple you've ever built. And about those who distance themselves, let them. Not with pain, nor with irony. Let them with lightness, because what you did was just free yourself, and freedom always scares those who still need walls to feel safe. You're not their enemy. You're just the living reminder that there's life outside fear. Now, heaven is moving the pieces in your favor. New people will approach. New vibrations will cross your path. The right opportunities, those that match your new state, will start finding you. Nothing forced, everything organic. Because when the spirit aligns, the universe responds. Breathe deep, chosen one. Look at your own story. Everything made sense, even what hurt. The night you entered and felt different was the beginning of everything. The loneliness that scared you transformed into strength. And now, this light you carry, that many tried to extinguish, is proof that heaven prepared you to shine in a world still getting used to truth. You didn't destroy anything, you just illuminated. And when light arrives, the false dissolves. Continue, shine, walk. Because your frequency is rare, your presence is healing, and your name echoes strong in the spiritual plane. Chosen one, let me tell you something maybe no one has had the courage to say until today. You're not a threat, you're freedom. You're not a rebel, you're a pioneer. You're not lost, you were found. And understanding this changes everything. Because what you lived wasn't a break with the sacred, it was a fusion with it. You didn't distance yourself from heaven. You approached the part of it that always belonged to you. You were like the bird that one day realized the sky was bigger than the cage. So you opened the door and flew. And now up there, flying free, you hear the whispers. He got lost. She went astray. Abandoned the nest. But among those voices, there are also others, low, almost timid, that say, look, it's possible. And those are what matter, because they're the ones that one day will fly too. Your departure was never empty, chosen one. It was a seed of possibility, planted in hearts still sleeping on cold benches, waiting for something the spiritual world already placed inside them long ago. Some saw your serenity and thought, I want this too. Others felt your quiet prosperity and wondered, is the path only the one they taught me? And what they still don't know, but will discover, is that the answer is in the same place where you found it, inside. They said your light was too strong for them, and it's true. But not because your light hurts, it's because light reveals. It reveals the walls that no longer serve, reveals the masks that weigh heavy, reveals the emptiness of repetitions without soul, and revelation hurts. That's why when they look at you without a smile, when they look away, when they treat you with indifference, don't take it to heart. It's not about you. It's about the reflection you became. Mirrors bother those who still don't recognize themselves. You don't have to go back to explain, nor to correct, nor to prove. Your mission now is simple and sacred. Keep being light. Keep shining your way at your frequency with your truth. Because authentic light doesn't need a stage. It needs space. And the spiritual world already opened space for you. The energy guiding you now is direct, without intermediary, without translation. It's you and heaven in a straight line. And about those empty seats, about those songs that lost their charm, you didn't destroy anything. You just showed with your serene presence that the true temple never had a roof. That real prayer doesn't need a script. That genuine communion happens in the gaze, in touch, in the silent gratitude of someone breathing in peace. You're living proof that the sacred doesn't live in structures, it lives in movement. You didn't tear down any walls, chosen one. You just found the door that was always open. And when you crossed through, you saw that outside the sky doesn't end, that freedom has a scent, that life keeps pulsing without a script. From that moment, your existence became an invitation. And an invitation doesn't impose, doesn't force. It just shows the way. Whoever wants to follow, follows. Whoever doesn't, stays. And that's okay. Now understand, the path you chose has no end point. It's alive. It's infinite. Each dawn is a new discovery. Each step is expansion. What you started doesn't end in human recognition. It ends in fullness. You're not a final product. You're a continuous process, and this process is prayer itself in movement. And as for those who stayed, who still sing the same songs and ask for the same things, look with compassion, not with pity, nor with rush, because you were also there once. You know the fear that comes with waking from a comfortable dream. So just wish that their awakening be light. And if one day one of them seeks you, don't teach with speeches. Teach with the brightness of your gaze. But if someone calls you wayward, lost, just smile. Smile like someone who knows the secret and doesn't need to prove anything, because your peace is proof enough. Your serenity is the confirmation. And if they ask you, how did you do it? Say simply, I stopped looking for the sacred where they told me he was, and I started looking where he always was, inside me. And when I found him, I realized he had never left. I had just forgotten to look. That music that once gave you chills, that today sounds distant, didn't become bad. It's that you found a greater symphony, the music that vibrates directly from the cosmos, made of silence, of truth, of gratitude. When you hear this frequency, everything rehearsed loses meaning, because your soul now dances to the rhythm of the real. And heaven, that heaven that guided you in every step, even on nights when you thought you were lost, is saying now, everything was seen, every courage, every silence, every no you said to what no longer resonated, everything was recorded. And the reward already began. It's the peace that visits you at night. It's the light laughter of your days. It's the balance no one understands where it comes from. That's it. That's what the spiritual world calls victory. But know this, your journey wasn't just yours. It was a portal for many. You opened a path where they said there was no road. You planted invisible signs that say, through here, it's possible. Through here, there's heaven. Through here, there's freedom. And even if they don't mention your name, the trail you left will guide those who have the courage to walk. So lift your head, chosen one. You're not deviation, you're direction. You're not a threat, you're a beacon. You're not heresy, you're rebirth. Your light is authentic, your presence is rare, and your mission is to keep shining. Because when you shine, the world remembers that freedom exists. And if they ask you what moves you, answer truth. And if they ask you what you seek now, answer peace. And if they ask you what you are, smile and say, I am light, because that's what you always were. And now, finally, you know, you didn't destroy anything. You just freed what was trapped. And this freedom is your legacy. May you go lightly, shining without apologizing, loving without borders, walking with the certainty that all of heaven fits inside you. And when the world tries to extinguish your brightness, remember, a lighthouse doesn't ask permission to illuminate. It just shines. And your role, chosen one, is this. Never let this light that always guided you go out.